Today's opening quote is, "Travel is about finding those things you never knew you were looking for." Some unknown person said that. Hello, and welcome to the Hot Foot Rooms podcast. I'm your host, Sharon Harris. Thank you for joining me. You could be anywhere, but you decided to come here and pre my podcast and ting. Thank you very much. Guess what, people? Guess what? This is season 2, you know. Season 2 of the Hot Foot Rooms podcast. That's big things. Thank you. There's like 5 of you that have been listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. What I'd like you to do is to subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you feel like listening on, because I'm on Spotify. The podcast is also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all platforms where podcasts are available. iTunes is on, what's the other one? TuneIn app. It's a whole heap of places. Anywhere you think podcasts are, that's where I am. That's where the Hot Foot Rooms podcast is. And also the Anchor.fm app. You can find me there. I'm there, Hot Foot Rooms. Type it in, boom. Find me. So like I said, this is the first episode of season 2. Look how in England we're getting so Americanized. Season 2. I think it might be series 2 that normally we say in England, but we're going with season 2. That's what it says on my drop-down menu, so I'm picking season 2. Season 2 is going to be a whole interview series. So I'm going to be interviewing fellow travelers, most of whom are just my brethren, my friends, random people I've accosted on the streets and said to them, yeah, it's great to meet you. Okay, so would you be a guest on my podcast? And then I've just chased them on social media until they said yes. So today, first episode, I'm in conversation with my mate, Tammy Lynn Saunders. She and we actually met playing Steel Pan together, my fellow North Wheezy friend. And North Wheezy as in Northwest London for those non-UK people that might be listening. And we were also traveling on our world travels at the same time. Although we didn't actually go to the same places at the same time, but we were out on the road at the same time. But Tammy took her children with her, which I thought was really amazing. She took her son, who is 10, and her daughter, who's 16, and she homeschooled them. So I'm in conversation with her, just picking her brain, getting all in her business. And yeah, she's my first interviewee ever. And she's the first on the season 2 series of the Hot Foot Rooms podcast. So I hope you enjoy it. We ended up chatting for quite a long time. So it's a long episode, but I hope you like it. And if you don't like it, then you will let me know. So comment on Instagram, Twitter, at HotFootRooms. Send me an email if you're that kind of person to hotfootrooms@gmail.com. You can send a voice note on the Anchor app if you have the app yourself. And you can send a voice note and I'll share it on the show or share it on another episode if it's relevant. And if it's not relevant, then I'll listen to it and then take whatever comes from it. Anyway, my interview with Tammy Lynn Saunders, you can follow her on Instagram at Tammy Lynn Saunders. That's TammyLynSaunders. I'll repeat it again later.
Hey,
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Oh, let's just do a little volume check. How's your volume?
Up the highest.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I feel like I can't hear you well, but that's all right. We'll work with it.
Okay.
Cool. So Tammy's been traveling with her kids. She's been a ton of places. So I'm just going to just get fast in her business and share it with everybody. And I want to know about, where did you go, Tam? Just give me the list first of all the places that you went to.
Okay. So, as I like to say, we did 17 countries in 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I did 2 extra because we had to go back to Hong Kong and Japan. So, I'll list them out. But yeah, our plans were quite agile. So, we could kind of adapt them as we go. And just for everyone's information, I've done a lot of project management, and generally what you're always controlling is time against budget against quality. So, and one thing is, when you're in certain places, because you're there and you won't be there again for a long time, there are certain things you feel you have to do for quality. So you're always having to adjust the time and the budget. So, but yeah, so you want me to list out where we went?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we started by going to Milan. So that was a nice cheap flight. Considering we were carrying, I think we carried a total of three big bags for underneath, and then 3 hand luggage that were really over the weight. Because some flights I'm going to get are not going to be, you know, I'm going to have to pay for my undercarriage bags. I couldn't afford to take 2, obviously. So I think we flew out with EasyJet, or one of the cheap airlines, and that's really cheap. So it's good for everybody to know they can just hop over to Europe for cheap. And the way I save money is, obviously I'm only going one way, so I'm not having to do a return flight, so it halves my cost in that sense. So we flew to Milan, went and saw the Last Supper, something I've wanted to see with my own eyes.
Wow. And where was that? In what museum?
Don't ask me the details now, but okay. Yeah.
You're worse than me.
You can look it up online, but you basically go to the ticket booth that day, and you can usually get tickets just there. And it's a big church, and it is one of those experiences where you'll feel the moment, like the way the clouds were swooped overhead, and just you know, no matter what religion you are, you'll feel a special moment kind of going there. Okay. So it's worth going to see. So we went and saw that in Milan, and then I like Italy. Italy's kind of okay. They drive really fast, by the way. I drive quite fast, but Italians are like, I think that's where they make Ferraris.
Oh, yeah.
They're super fast. I couldn't even keep up. So we drove them from Milan to Rome. And when I'm in European countries, I feel quite comfortable to drive, quite safe. So we generally, most trips we go on, we use the nights to drive. The reason we do that is we save on the hotel.
Okay, that's a smart move. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah. So I mean, I've done road trips before with the kids to North America and things. So you get a really nice car. I mean, in America, you can get a Mustang for about £500 for 2 weeks. My American friends can't get it for that price. We get it for that price booking in England, you know. Okay. So yeah, little things like that. If you use budget, rent a car, well, I think it's budget car hire, you can get prestige cars really cheap. So yeah, we use night times to drive, and then obviously if you arrive, you're going to arrive at a hotel, and quite often they let you do early check-in. So if you choose a big hotel, you know they're going to have a lot of rooms that are empty. Okay. So if you arrive for an early check-in, they're more likely to say yes and not charge you.
Nice.
Or you arrive at the hotel and you put your bags down, leave all your bags there, and then you just go wherever you want to go for the day.
Cool.
Yeah, all those little tips. So we did Milan, drove down to Rome. In Rome, I really wanted to see the Raphael rooms. So it's got a painting of Aristotle and Plato. Oh, wow. If anybody knows that famous painting. We did some other things in Rome, I think. Colosseum and things like that. But the main reason I went there was for the art. And it was quite good for the kids as well, because they got to, I gave them Riley had his iPad, so he could be taking photos. He was taking photos of a lot of statues without willies, which he thought was really funny.
So they were male statues that had no willy.
Yeah, most male statues had the willies taken off. I think some nun went around one year and must have just knocked willies off of every statue.
And how old is Riley, just for audience?
So Riley at the time was 9. He's 10 now from September. But we kept it really interesting for him. Like any museum you go to, they usually have a children's pack. So you can pick up the children's pack and they kind of can fill that in as they're going around.
Okay.
So let me just cough. Right. So yeah, for me, Italy was about artwork. So after that, we drove down to Naples, and then I think it was when we got to Naples, we could hit the sea, because I'm quite a water person. So it was great. We could go by the sea, and then also we then drove up Mount Vesuvius. So that one was quite interesting because there was a few dogs on the loose on the mountain.
Oh.
So yeah, we were watching dogs go past and just thinking I wouldn't like to be walking up that mountain. So but yeah, so we did Italy quite well. I would have liked to do, I think it's there Venice and places like that, but on the route that I was traveling downwards. Then next trip, so
let me just cut you. Sorry, you talked about the route that you were traveling downwards. Did you map out your route beforehand? Obviously, you had the kids, so did you plan beforehand? I know you said it was a bit agile, but
yeah. So I kind of using project management. You'll sit there and you'll just say, right, these are the places So I tend to use Google Maps, and on Google Maps, I type in places and I drop. You can leave a label on there. You can save it, and you can save it with a love heart or I think it's a green icon to say I want to go. And that's generally what I've done across the world. So certain places I wanted to go to Rome, but when I was searching to go to Rome, I was like, oh, where's the Last Supper? And I realized that was only in Milan. You see what I mean? And then, so generally you form a high level plan of the places you want to go, and then you add in all the others as extras. Okay. So any project managers will know you call it Moscow. So it's a must, should, could, and then you won't. So everything you write down, you're like, these things I must do. These things I could do. Or no, these things I must do. These things I should do. So even the shoulds, you can compromise on them. So Milan would have been a should. Going to see the Raphael rooms was a must. Doing Mount Vesuvius was probably a could.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you did Italy, and then after Italy, where did you go after that?
So then we went to Athens. So we flew then from Italy to Athens, which is Greece. So to just say that when you do go, for those people of colour, you will notice the difference in the sense that Italy, I wouldn't say that I felt racism. Everyone's quite friendly, but there was a little, I don't know. You would know. You know, you can sense where you are, and kind of like the overall vibe. Okay. Going to Greece, it gets a lot more multicultural, I would say. All right. Than Italy. So I could definitely tell the difference in the fact I was going to a country that was a little bit more accepting of a mixture of people. Because a lot of these European countries have African immigrants. Yes. And some of them can be quite racist because the African immigrants come and take their... Oh, I forgot. In Italy, I think we did pizza as well. We went Leaning Tower Pizza.
Oh, yeah. Nice one.
So
what was that like?
So, yeah, that was actually quite good in the sense... It's one of those, that one was kind of probably a must. If you're in Italy, just drive to Pisa. What I did notice there is that you do get like a lot of African sellers, street sellers. Okay. So I think when we went to, it must have been in Italy. Yeah. When we went to go and see, the fountain, is it the Florentine fountain?
You tell me, lady, I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's a really famous fountain. I think it's in Rome or something. Okay. And I just type it in my Google, and Google literally takes you right there. Wicked. So I literally went to that fountain in my car. From my car, I could see the fountain, and it is obviously a tourist area. So that's probably like driving Trafalgar Square and actually being on the square in your car
Oh, wow.
next to the fountain. And the roads are so narrow that you can't reverse. So once you're going down that road, obviously there's people around you. You cannot go backwards. So you just have to keep going. But we met an African seller down there, and he was trying to sell to us through the window.
Mm-hmm.
It was sweet. He gave my son a necklace, and then he showed us where we could park. So, but it's just interesting that you do notice. So in Italy, that was kind of like the only color that we really saw. Whereas then when we went to Greece, we saw a lot more mixture.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Greece has got really, really narrow. Sorry, in Athens, it's got really, really narrow streets, and hills where even I sat at the bottom of them in the car thinking, how am I going to get this car up that hill?
Wow.
It was like a 45 plus degree.
Wow.
Yeah. And you're gonna
That
have
was
to do
a
a
good
hill.
picture
You're gonna have to
moment.
do a hill start at the top of it, you know.
Damn, but that's a good picture
Handbrake or
moment,
not.
right?
Huh?
Good picture moment, right?
Oh
Some
yeah,
good
I think I
photos.
filmed that one because we were laughing so much because I was just like, I know I'm gonna have to stop at the top of it to turn onto whatever road, and I'm gonna have to pull my handbrake, you know. But you know, to get off that handbrake on a bike on a hire car that you've not driven that much, it's like we may well roll backwards, guys. But it made really, really fun moments, you know, and it's good for my children to see me doing lots of things, you
Yes.
know, as both their mum, so a female is capable. So yeah, so we did quite a lot in Italy. Then went to Athens, and the main thing I wanted to see in Athens. So if you book the right flight, I actually booked a flight to Egypt that would do a 1 night stopover in Athens.
Nice.
So you're getting a cheaper flight because it's got a stopover, a long stopover.
Uh-huh.
And but I want that stopover, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to spend 1 night in Athens. So I think I went to go and see the Pantheon. It was Europe was probably more about what I wanted to see the children.
Okay.
But yeah, if you use Skyscanner, that was probably my main way of booking flights.
Yeah, me too. I quite like Skyscanner. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then I also check on Google Flights as well. So sometimes, because I check Skyscanner and then I go and check for the same flight on Google Flights.
Mm-hmm. And did you ever try Expedia at all? They're quite good.
I don't. I used Expedia when I did North America with the kids when I did a road trip then. But no, since then I think Skyscanner generally gives me the cheapest price. Then when you click to see who's selling that flight, I will usually go then and check directly with whatever operator.
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes, especially with companies like Liat, or the smaller plane companies, if you go to their website, they give you the ability to look at different days. And sometimes they have special offers on those days. So later on in the trip, I got flights from, I believe it was Barbados to Trinidad for something like £50 a seat.
Decent. Yeah, that's good.
It was really cheap. So okay, so did Athens. I would like to go back to Greece and do some of the islands when it's hot.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I've never done Crete and places like that. Then from there we flew on to Egypt. Egypt was fantastic. What I would say is, so I had some of my friends who were like white saying, oh, I've always wanted to go to Egypt, but I've always been scared to go there. You know, this is some of my American white friends. And I'm like, you've got blonde hair, blue eyes. You're really going to stick out in Egypt. There's no way. I'm not going to lie, you know. Whereas me, I could just blend. You know, they thought I was Egyptian. I know how to hustle. So when they hustle hard. Now, when I spoke to Egyptian people, I was like, because they hustle to a level of where I think it's rude. Like, by the time I got to the pyramids, I'm trying to enjoy the pyramids and just have my, you know, sacred time. And I've got hustlers in my ears, you know.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I do hear they go quite hard out there.
Yeah, hire a camel, hire a, you know, horse. It's like, no, you finish with this person. Next person walks up to you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. When you know, Egypt's quite a spiritual place for us. We want to just go there and sit and take time. So when I later spoke to some Egyptians about it and said, what is you know, why is this hustle so heavy here? They explained that it was, they're like the gypsies. So you see, like in England, we've got what you would call gypsies.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're because that's when the Egyptians get mad at them and say, you're messing up with our tourism. Because I'm thinking, yeah, how am I going to recommend Egypt to some of my softer friends?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just going to get haggled and hustled, you know? And they said, yeah, it really messes with our tourism, but they are like the nomads, the gypsies, they called them. So
Okay.
special name. And they, obviously they come in. So that's like us having gypsies with their horse and cart working around the London Eye without a license or permit. It's the equivalent of that.
I learned something new today. Okay.
Yeah, so you could imagine what it would be like around our tourist sites if
Yeah.
anybody could just come there and hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're all competing against each other. Do you see what I mean? With all their camels and horses. That's why. So going to Egypt, the great thing is I don't like too much regulation. It's got no regulation, which is lovely. But
So you can do what you want.
Also, if you don't know how to handle that kind of natural country. So crossing the road in Egypt, you just literally cross, even if it's 5 lanes. If you try to cross when there's a green man, the very few times I saw a green man in Cairo, I went to cross and the cars still drive past.
Yeah.
So they don't follow traffic lights out there. And literally, we watched a lot of people just crossing. You just walk out in the road. Everyone's tooting anyway. It's a bit like Delhi or something. And you just literally walk and they're stopped for you.
Oh, you got to take the risk.
It's mad.
You might lose your leg. You might not. So, Tam, what was one of the hardest things that you experienced on your travel journey?
Basically, my hardest thing about traveling was probably using my bank cards. They didn't work everywhere. So when we went to Cairo, I had to walk. We probably had to walk for about half an hour to an hour, testing out cash machines before we found one that worked. And then basically I found a petrol station near the entrance to the pyramids where my card worked. Yeah. So it's one of the first petrol stations that I went to when I got there, and I thought it was fabulous. It was a petrol station you could smoke in. That's what I went in the petrol station to get, and I thought I'm going to get a coffee or whatever when we first got there. Cash machine, used that, turned around, and there's all tables with ashtrays on them, people smoking. I was just like, and they got like about 6 people working each pump. So that was kind of funny enough. That became my little safe haven. One time when we went to the pyramids, so we went to the pyramids, and Riley really wanted to do camels. He loves animals. I'm like, I don't like camels. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll put the kids on the camels and I'll just walk. Yeah. And then they got on the camel, and I was like, and Riley was begging me to get on a camel. So I was like, all right, I'll get on a camel as well. So this is even before we've got into the pyramids. You meet so many people selling on the way there. So we got on the camels, which was quite nice because then that meant we got a ride into the pyramids past the gates and everything, you know, where the security is.
Yeah.
So you can actually book your camels from outside the pyramids. Is actually quite a good idea.
Is that better?
Yeah, because you're kind of on the camel riding past cars and stuff to get into because the pyramids is surrounded by a big wall and it's got security at each of the places.
Okay.
So hopefully this tell me if I'm going on. Obviously, you got to think in 5 months we did a lot, and Egypt is one of those must objectives. So we're gonna full on do it. So we did the camels in. Then after we got off the camels, we went round one of the pyramids of camels. Got off. Riley saying he wants to go on a horse, and I'm thinking, all right. You know, I need to make this a big thing for him because they did all my art for me in Italy. It's time to give them time. And Riley would climb a pyramid if I let him go. You know, he's that kind of little boy.
He's that kid.
Yeah. So after that, we got off the camels. I could then spend some time once I got rid of all the people hustling me to just actually sit. You know, you can take your shoes off, walk in the sand. Just, you know, it's very surreal. I think everybody should go and see the pyramids. The amazing thing about the pyramids is, for me, they're not as big as I thought.
Really?
Yeah, they're big, But just, when you grow up reading about the pyramids, when you're actually there.
How close did you get? How close are you able to get?
You're on them.
Really?
You can go in them. Yeah, you can go on them and you can sit on them. You can climb up them. Yeah, it's that's what's nice about an unregulated country, overregulated country.
You can climb on the pyramid.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
There's
I thought
quite a few, but yeah. There's no
I had no idea.
areas or anything. No. It's quite, yeah, it's lovely though. You go there. Yeah, I mean, people can take bits of the pyramid way.
Get out of here.
Yes, yeah. You can go totally, you can climb them. We were climbing them. I let Riley climb, good 10 meters or so.
I literally had no idea. I didn't know you could climb them. I know you go inside, but I didn't know you can climb. And it wasn't cordoned off or anything.
Obviously, I think if you get too high, then they might say something. I think some of the tombs they might have closed. They can be a bit, they've got it cordoned off. But even then, anyone looking after it, the thing is, it's Egypt. You can hustle. You can pay. Like when I get to my bit with you with Valley of the Kings, oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, you just pay them a tip and they let you do whatever you want. So,
whoa.
But, yeah. So the pyramids was great. So we did the camels. I would say it's worth doing the camels, even though I'm not a camel person. They do travel quite a lot of distance for you. It means you can just rest and just look, without having to walk. And once you're on a camel, you're not getting hustled by other camel people. That's the other reason. I call them camel men. Yeah, because I had an altercation with one camel man. I'll get to that. So,
yeah, Tammy had an altercation with someone. Really?
Oh my God, I went in on him. But so we did camels. Then Riley wanted to do the horses, and I thought, all right, we'll do the horses and we'll go out to, there's a panoramic view you can do where you get to see all 9 pyramids in a row.
All right.
So we came off the camels, and now this is the camel man who I paid for his horses. And I said to him, I've got somebody that I'm already going to book with. And he kept saying, no, book with me. Because I'd already said to some other guy I was going to use him for horses. And he said, book with me. And I said, look, I've only got this much Egyptian on me. So you either take this. And he's going, oh, I think it was 400. And it's like 600. I said, all right, if at the end, when we get to the Sphinx, you give me, because we were going to go out to the panoramic view. This is what I agreed with him. We'll do the panoramic and then we'll go around to the Sphinx. And he said to me, there's a cash machine at the Sphinx. And he goes to me, you give me the 400 and there's a cash machine at the Sphinx. And I said, yeah, but it might not work because they don't all work from my card. He goes, if it doesn't work, then you get it for 400. And I was like, all right, deal. So, and he said he won't try to hard sell me anything else because they always will try to, once you've booked, they'll always try to sell you an extra hour or something else. Yeah. So we did the horses. What I found out about the horses out there, so we train our horses here using voice. We will give them keywords. So I can ride a horse, but they train their horses out there by hitting them, with a whip.
Yeah.
So before I got on the horses, with the camels, I was quite all right because they looked after. And camels are quite hardened animals.
Yes, they are.
With the horses, I was saying to Riley, are you sure? Because look, they're whipping the horse. So I actually got one of them to show me. He gave me the whip before I booked the horses so that I could actually whip my leg to see. And it doesn't actually hurt. It would hurt if you did it really hard. It's more a cue.
Okay.
For the horse. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That horse will probably have been whipped hard to know that when it gets a little whip, if you don't do as you're told, you're going to get a harder one.
Yes.
Does that mean? So when you see them whipping the horses on the bump, it's not actually hurting them, they're triggers. But then
that's good to know.
I'm riding the horse. I'm getting the horse to do what I want to do, but then the horse decides he wants to stop. Yeah. Which obviously that horse don't want to be working. He's probably been working non-stop, whatever. And the guy, camel man, comes along and starts whipping my horse. Yeah. So that was the first altercation I got into him. I said, nope. You're not whipping the horse while I'm on it. Do you know what I mean? So in the end, and I was trying to talk to the horse saying, just move and then you won't get whipped. In the end, I was like, fuck that, I'm getting off the horse. He was trying to attach the horse back to the back of the camel that he was riding. I was like, no, I'm walking. Riley stayed on his horse, and he had a young boy riding it with him. And the young boy knew how to give voice cues to the horse because it was his horse. So they stayed on horses. I walked. We went and saw the panorama. It's definitely worth seeing all the 9 pyramids in a row. Then we went round to the Sphinx. At the Sphinx, really busy site, so it's hard to get a good picture, but everyone does the picture of you kissing the Sphinx.
Is it inundated with tourists?
A lot. I think because the pyramids are bigger, the tourists are spread all around it. Do you see what I mean? But when you get to the Sphinx, it's one thing. So once you go in, I think you have to buy tickets to go in there, but we're talking Egyptian, so everything's cheap. But go with, enough money. And I think by the time we got to, that was the other thing, by the time we got to the Sphinx, it was nearly closing. I had to hustle the people at the gate to let us in.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot you can do to get these people to kind of like, because then they opened the gate again for us, and the tourists that I was going in with, they bunged them an extra, some extra money, because they held their hand out. They opened the gate for us and held their hand out waiting for some money. So everything's on a hustle in Egypt. Wow. So we did the Sphinx, came out, and then that's when we went to Cash Machine. Cash Machine didn't work, and I said to him, see, I told you it wasn't going to work. But rather than me just say, I didn't want to rip him off, I said, look, I'm just going to walk to the beginning of the pyramids to my petrol station where I know my card works, I can have a coffee and a fag. Yeah. He goes, that's really far. And to be honest, it was quite far, but my head doesn't realize that, because going from the pyramids to the Sphinx is kind of quite far.
How long's that?
To walk it? Yeah, to walk it is probably he did say to me it'd take you about an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah, but he's probably thinking slow walk, but if you're walking across sand or back streets, because the back streets go around the outside of the wall of the whole pyramids. So he decides he's going to get another camel friend, and they're going to take us to the Cash Machine. Now, don't forget, I'm going to the Cash Machine to give him 200 extra that I said, which I didn't have to give him on the deal that we made. Yeah, because of the cash cow. So he then decided to ride us full sprint. Have you ever seen a camel run?
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
I don't even like camels. Yeah. We were on the back of these camels, full sprint. He got his camel crew together, and they rode us all, including a couple of my friends that I'd met up with, all around the back streets of Egypt, round to the petrol station. Now, some people would have loved that. I don't even like camels. And when you go around the back streets, you get to see the other side of Egypt, which is, we're talking seas of rubbish, carrier bags, where they put their rubbish in carrier bags and it's not being cleared out. You've got some horses that are like skeletons near enough.
Wow.
Yeah, it's poor. It is poor. But they're very used to living like that. So we finally get round on these galloping camels. I thought, if this camel falls over, I'm dead. And my children are on other camels and being ridden and stuff. I'm just, oh my God, hated it. Whole way got off this camel at a petrol station. Can you imagine arriving at a petrol station
on a camel?
Yeah. Like, you got to cross the car, the camels just walk out in front of the cars, and the cars just stop and let us cross. I'm like, oh my God. Embarrassing. My phone was dead, so I couldn't even film it. It was just like, but you would say it's one of those great experiences. Went to go get him the money now from the thing, and I decided to give him 1,000 extra as a tip, which I didn't have to do. He wanted more. He's saying, you got to pay my camel crew.
What?
Now, Egyptian men aren't used to Western women talking back. I was like, I'm not paying you anymore. I'm paying you a tip. Plus, we didn't even need to come here. You would have got your 400, And at one point, we were arguing, and then he tries to go, I've got to feed my children. They try that one. I was like, I've got my children. Like that. I was just like, no, that's it. Do you know what I mean? You gave me a lift to the petrol station to get your money. So I'm not paying you to take me to the petrol station. And then, are we still on? Sorry.
Say that again, Ben. I didn't hear you.
Sorry, someone's trying to ring. After we got to the petrol station, so I just got to the point in the argument where I went, right, I'm done. Yeah, he goes, in his Egyptian accent. He's like, "You're done? You're done?" Like he's like, he's never heard a woman go to him, "I'm done." So that's the point. I was like, "I'm done." Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm walking off. You know what I mean? Went in the petrol station. I'd already sent the kids into the petrol station. Do you know what I mean? And I was with friends, so it wasn't like I'm going to get into a fight with the camel. But then I went into the petrol station. I needed to charge my phone, so I went up to the desk. I said, "Can you get me your manager, please?" The manager came over. I said, "Look, I've just had an altercation with a camel man who won't leave me alone." I said, "Can I put my phone on charge?" And I said, "If he doesn't go, I'm going to call the police." And the manager was like, put my phone on charge, got me a free coffee.
Wow, do what you need to do.
Yeah, but great. Now that I look back at it, it was like an amazing story. I do laugh a lot about the running with camels. Like, never again in my life, ever.
Wow.
But these people will do, you can pay them to do anything. You know, if you wanted to go running a camel across that desert, you could. You know, that's a nice side of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we did other things. We did the museum in Cairo. See, we would have to do a podcast for each place I went. So,
well,
we're
okay,
only on
so
place number 3.
I know we're only on the 3rd place. So you went to the museum in you saw Tutankhamun. So how long were you in Egypt altogether?
I can't remember. Probably about a week.
But you crammed in quite a lot in your week, though, right?
Yeah. So in between that, we're doing. I think because we did quite a lot of home learning when we were in Italy. Because I think I spent a week or so in Italy, and we had a bit more time in Italy. But Egypt, I think what it was is we did the pyramids. Then it was like, okay, let me just chill the kids down. So we booked. I can't remember where the place was, but I booked a place outside of Cairo because the thing is with Cairo, it's got a lot of smog and dust and stuff. And I was like, I don't want to stay with the kids in Cairo. So we stayed up on the hill.
Okay.
I usually pick my places. It was a place called something like Tamar or something, but it's Motam something.
Mm-hmm.
And because it had my name in there, I usually pick my places around that wherever I buy.
Okay.
But I used Airbnb for that.
Oh yeah.
One, and because you can Uber in Egypt really easily, so we stayed out of Cairo city, up on the hill, and you could literally, as we were driving down, see all the smog hanging over the city. It had a swimming pool for the kids, and I book it when I book my Airbnbs. I book hopefully Airbnb. You don't work for Airbnb or anything, do you?
Nah, babe.
Okay, because basically when you book an Airbnb, book 1 to 2 days, and then I usually book the apartments. I don't book people's houses.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're in there, you can then speak to them directly and book direct.
Oh yeah.
And they use the Airbnb booking that you've done as the insurance, so you then don't have to pay big deposits.
That's a good tip.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and the place that I booked, basically, after I stayed a couple of days, I said, "Oh, can I speak to someone because I might want to stay a bit longer?" And then they sent me through to because there was loads of apartments. They've got loads of apartments that they're building in Egypt, and it would be fabulous when it's finished. And then when I spoke to the manager guy, he was like, "Yeah, we let loads of apartments. Just come to me direct." So I just booked with him directly. But it was good because it allowed me then to go down to Valley of the Kings in Luxor.
Oh yeah.
And still keep our luggage there.
Oh yeah, that's always a good look, that is.
So one thing I would say about Egypt, the best thing is they've got this thing called Go Bus. Yeah. They're really nice coaches. They cost about £5 each way. And I caught the bus from Cairo to Luxor, which is quite far. And you get Wi-Fi on it. It's a night bus.
Nice.
And it's £5 each way. Now, if you do that as a night bus, you're actually saving on your hotel cost.
Oh yeah.
And not only that, you can get that to Sharm Sheikh, by the coast where they've got really good diving.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it to Mount Sinai. You can get it, wherever you want to go in Egypt. Yeah. they've got buses that go all over the place. So if you look it up on the internet, Go Bus is brilliant. You book it online, you just turn up, get on your bus, book one with Wi-Fi. You can book ones with really nice, you know, seats and everything. And just, yeah, you just sleep on that for your night. And as long as you got, you know, if you're not paying a hotel, you can, it's got storage underneath for you to take your baggage as well.
Okay.
So, and these buses aren't packed either. So, you know, you could take quite a lot of luggage if you wanted, but obviously I left my luggage near Cairo. So yeah, so we went to the apartment, and then it was really nice because I booked an apartment with a kitchen and everything like that, so I can cook for the kids, because my children don't always, they still need their home kind of
Comfort.
cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pasta, you know, the things that they eat at home I can buy, and then I can cook them normal food.
Okay.
They're not that experimental about foreign food, and I don't mind as well, because if their bellies aren't used to those spices, I don't really want my kids getting ill.
Okay, understand.
You know? So we have a bit of obviously what's local. Oh, and you've got KFCs, you know, McDonald's. McDonald's is actually brilliant. You get free Wi-Fi. So
they have.
Not that
I didn't think they had that in
McDonald's
Egypt for some reason.
Huh?
I didn't think they had that in Egypt for some reason.
Yeah, we have actually got. We've probably been to McDonald's all around the world, not for the food, for the Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah.
In America, they're like 10 minutes apart. You just live in McDonald's. Wi-Fi. You don't actually, other than I do get my phone used in America. I can use my phone in America, you know. So yeah, we did. So that was my time in the apartment. So in terms of home learning, you plan that in. Do you see what I mean? So that
when you say home learning, are you talking about homeschooling the kids? Okay, so talk to me about. I was going to ask you about that later, but you had mentioned home learning a couple of times.
Yeah, I'll go for it separately.
All right.
But yeah, just quickly, I had a daughter, Tyler, doing her GCSE year,
and she's 16 now.
She's 16, yeah. So she sat her GCSE, so that was a must objective. We get back to England for May for her to sit her exams.
Okay.
She was sitting. What you do is you just pay as a private candidate.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay for your exams when you do it this way. And if you do it right, through the right people, it costs about £70 to £90 an exam.
Wow.
So but because she'd already done most of her GCSE study, it was easy then to just fill in. But she was generally going to a school that would just not very good. They would get her a C grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let's just take your year off, study what you need to study, and then you'll guarantee you'll get an A or a B. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
You can do the extra work. Because she was doing photography GCSE. I mean, what's photography GCSE? You know? So, you know, we dropped some of the GCSEs that weren't really necessary.
Okay.
It's more important for you to get your maths and your English and your sciences. Yeah. So, and she'd already done GCSE Latin 2 years early and GCSE art a year early.
Okay.
So she already had two GCSEs. So yeah, so basically my whole thing is we spend a day out sightseeing, and then the next day we spend in an apartment doing home learning and just chilling. And I would say during the Europe bit, that worked quite well. So even though I'm telling you about all the things, adventures of us going out, we wasn't out every single day. In between that, we have a day home. And, you know, I've set up home learning on the laptop with my son. So they've all got different logins, and they've got their own online stuff that they click to do their maths and different things. Tyler was a bit different because she was just learning past papers and things like that. But Riley, yeah, it's quite easy to do. You just set up a login for your kid, set up all these different websites for them, you know, where they're doing maths exercises and things.
That's interesting.
So after we went back and we stayed in Cairo for a bit, then I decided we'd go back to the pyramids again because they were really good, and we did quad biking.
Nice.
So out of the camels, the horses and foot, the best way to get around the pyramids and everything is by quad bike. I did an excursion on, what is it called? there's a website called Viator.
Viator.
Yeah, it's something like that. Viator, I think it's called. And it basically, you can book across the world, you can book excursions.
Okay.
And you just type in what country you're in or what place you're in, and it lists out all the different excursions and things that you can do there. And quad biking was one of them. And I think we got our quad biking for really cheap. It worked out about £60.
Nice.
And that was for 3 quad bikes. And Riley was on my quad bike.
Nice.
So yeah, £60. It was supposed to be like, I think 2 hours or something. And yeah, they just kind of, we had one guy come out with us. He sat on the front of the quad bike on Tyler's and just got her to press the button, or he would press the button. How does someone ride on the front of a quad bike when you see these hills and stuff we were doing?
I have no idea. Oh my God.
And he was speeding them. Like, obviously the guy is really good on a quad bike. So just outside by the Sphinx, around the back streets there were loads of quad bike places with 10 quad bikes just sitting there not being used. Wow. So basically I booked it online through a third party international booking thingy, which is called Viator, and you get points and stuff if you book with them, so that for your next excursion. Then I always use money off coupons as well. I trawl Google. I just, when you get to that payment.
Good, because I was going to ask you about cost, but we're going to come to that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so when you're booking it online, you'll get to like the page where it says payment, and then it has discount code, and you're like, oh, don't have a discount code. Let me go on Google and find one. And then you get like 20% off, and you're like, yeah, just because you bothered to do an extra search. So book that, but then we went out on the quad bikes, and that was probably one of my best experiences. These guys could do wheelies on their quad bikes.
Wow.
I'm quite good at quad biking anyway, but it was great. My kids, because I generally, the kind of mum I am is I show my kids, look, mummy does it and she's not afraid, and and then that gets my kids to see, yeah, they can do it. Do you see what I mean? So they get their confidence from me, because you can't go out there with a flimsy, flaky child that's like, oh, I don't know. We had our little scarves over our mouths so that we could go real fast with the dust. And some of the hills we were doing, I was just watching this guy riding with Tyler, because obviously these bikes can flip. And he was amazing. The guy that took us out was an amazing quad biker. So absolutely fantastic. I would recommend quad biking to everybody who goes to the pyramids, because you can go slow as well. Because when we went, you still have to. You get on your quad bike outside the wall of Egypt stuff, where the pyramids are. You then ride it along the streets to get it in.
Oh,
so your quad bike is next to cars.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then when we got there was like a group of like 10 people, all on quad bikes waiting to go in. And then obviously sometimes you have to show your passport to get in. To actually get into the complex. So you get to the entry bit, because there are actually guards at all the entrances. And then, we went in, we could just do whatever we wanted. So I think I got to see the pyramids again, the Sphinx, just do everything again, but just quad bike it. And that's the best.
Nice. Oh, that's
so I'll finish off Egypt, sorry.
Yeah.
And after that, that's when I then left the stuff at the apartment, but I left it with the front desk, so we weren't paying for the room. We go bust down to Luxor, and I then did, I can't remember all the temple names off the top of my head. There's a Luxor temple, definitely. You can then go Valley of the Kings. You just got to be careful of the hustling people. Yeah. They will hustle you as soon as you get off the bus. You can do a boat over to the Valley of the Kings side, or you do the roadway round.
How did you do it?
That's it. They offer you to take you across on boats. You've got a lot of freelancers who want to just, but they will always then ask you to pay more. I did it. There's a ferry that you can get, the local ferry. So we went and did the local ferry. but great for shopping. They've got loads of markets where you can get like papyrus paper.
Oh, nice.
With gorgeous drawings and things. I always have to watch how much I buy because of the weight in the suitcases.
Yes.
That's the only thing that stops me shopping like crazy. I would have come back from Egypt with statues, everything. I was supposed to do it where I was to buy something and then ship it home as I go. That was the plan. But it never happened. But yeah, Valley of the Kings, you go to that. When we went, we were told that you couldn't take photographs in the tombs. And to be honest, I was quite respectful of that. Because I wasn't going to go Valley of the Kings. That was the thing.
Why?
But I don't know. I was just very much, I work on whether I feel the right vibe. Because I do believe some places you shouldn't go. You know, there's some places that you're not supposed to go in the world. And I wasn't sure with it being tombs if I'm supposed to go there.
Okay.
But we went. I can't remember near the Valley of the Kings. There's that big. It's a big temple that's cut into like the rocks. It's really, I can't remember the name of it now, but we went and saw that first, and that was great because I was reading some of the Egyptian and some of the signs looked like my name, so I kind of like that. Looked like it said Tam.
Nice.
Which I also saw in Luxor Temple as well. And then, you know, with my daughter, we did quite a lot of looking into Egyptian, you know, stuff to see, you know, so that you can go and feel your own vibe when you go to these places. Because there's definitely a spiritual connect there when you go there. But I think for everybody else, it's different. You know, everyone's got their own thing that they get out of these things. So then we went to Valley of the Kings. You're not allowed to take photos. I did not take the kids into the tombs. That's the one thing that I didn't do. So the kids waited outside, and they were quite happy to do that because they were just like climbing, you know, the dusty mountains. It's a bit like a construction site. So the kids are quite happy to hang around outside, throwing stones and doing whatever. You're only going in the tomb for like 10 minutes or so for each of them.
And that's like a tour, organised tour for 10 minutes?
Yeah. So, well, you go in. No, they're not really. No, you could do an organised tour, but I just did it. You buy the ticket and you catch your Uber up there. You know, you come off the boat, the ferry. There's loads of taxi drivers waiting there. And you just go up and do it yourself is what I would say.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it as part of an excursion because then I've got to go at their pace.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in Tutankhamun's tomb.
Wow.
You pay for a certain amount of tombs, but basically you can pay the people at the tomb door some money and they'll let you in whatever tombs you want to go in. So I went in some of the main ones. I went in Ramesses. That's one of the main tombs.
Wow.
Now, when I went into Ramesses, which is gorgeous, the artwork in there is amazing. We weren't allowed to take photos, yeah. Okay. But then this guy came up to me, one of the guys who works them, and he goes to me, you know, if you know, I'll sort you out, you know. And he's going, because he kept saying, we're family, like, you know, holding his skin next to my skin and going, we're family, I'll sort you out.
Because people thought you were Egyptian, right? Because of how you blend in, yeah?
Yeah, okay. They can't tell my mix. So he was just like, no, so when these lot go, because there's only like 5-10 people in the tombs at any one time, it's not busy.
Mm-hmm.
He said, when they go, you can take pictures and stuff. I was like, really? I was like, yeah. So he was like, give me your phone. He's taking pictures of us. And we were just like, all right. And then, because one of my friends was with us. So, you know, we were just like, yeah, we'll get your phones out and take some pictures. But I didn't want to do it in a disrespectful way.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, there's a whole ancestry connection, I suppose. And there's also, you know, there's a whole doppy side of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bad side to death as well that I think you have to be very careful of.
Doppy meaning ghosts and spirits of a different kind of nature. Because everybody isn't us, I just got to explain that.
Yeah, so there's a side of it that I'm very careful of that I don't be disrespectful to.
Yeah.
So in the Ramesses one, he took us around the back, like over the barrier. He said, come. Took us right up to Ramesses' coffin.
Wow.
Thing. Yeah, which is cracked. You know, his outer casing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me, lie down in it. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not lying down in Ramesses thing, in his tomb. Like, like some things, I was just putting my hands together, like praying.
Yes. Yes.
Please don't let the doppies fucking cuff me over this. And I was being really respectful about it. Now when I look back at the photos, I can see I was doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, my son is here. No. You have to bring it back to me. We've only got one charger in my house at the moment because my children have gone and broken the other one.
Oh, okay.
So, he was taking me and telling me to lie down in the coffins. The funniest thing was when we went round the back, I saw cleaning equipment, right? You know, like where the cleaners around the back of the whole bit, they put all of their stuff. And I was just like, the place is dusty. Who cleans? Like, you know, there was some funny moments in it all because we were just like, you know, when you're in shock that someone's allowing you to basically go around all the back of the tomb.
I'm shocked listening to you. My mouth is just open.
It's like, and there's like gaps off to the side, like tunnels off to the side and stuff. Like, if you paid them, they would just take you right wherever you want to go. Because a lot of that stuff's still not been dug out. And, you know, I was just like happy to be able to take the photos for one. And, you know, go right up to certain things and be able to actually put my hand on it and touch it. But other than that, I'm not. The fact he was telling me to get in the coffins and stuff, I was just like, hell no, you're mad.
Oh my gosh, that's actually creeped me right out. I'm creeped out.
I didn't post the pictures of that until after I'd left Egypt. Because basically, you're not allowed to take pictures in Cairo Museum of Tutankhamun's mask and stuff.
Okay.
And one of my friends was taking pictures, or my daughter or someone took pictures. And I think when I posted that, my sisters online had said, Tammy, you're going to get deported or arrested. You know what I mean? And laughing and joking. And I was like, yeah, actually.
You know what? Could be.
I think Egypt, you're not allowed to have Vicks.
Really?
So, yeah.
Isn't the vapor rub?
Yeah. Egypt's one of those places you don't mess about with it. Like, they've got funny laws. They're really relaxed on everything, but when it comes to, they've got a set of the laws that they do have. If you mess about with them, you're in prison.
Wow.
So yeah, I didn't post the pictures of that until after we left because I didn't want to get anyone in trouble. But yeah, all the people there is hustling. Everybody in Egypt. So if you know that and you know how to deal with hustlers, you will have a fantastic time.
What I want you to do is just tell me all the other places you went to, and I'm going to ask you I'm just going to pick and choose what kind of questions I ask you. Okay. Just list everywhere else you went to afterwards.
Yeah, so, I think Egypt was probably my biggest one in terms of, you know, that whole, you know, other places we went to longer, and obviously I wouldn't say it was as intense as Egypt. There's a lot to do in Egypt. So after Egypt, we flew. I was on a bit of a time schedule then, so that's when time becomes a factor. For Christmas, we needed to be somewhere hot. That was one of my must requirements. There's no point traveling around the world and being somewhere cold for Christmas.
You could be at your house.
That's cold.
Yeah.
And Egypt still wasn't. Egypt was hot, I must admit. But I was like, I don't really want to spend Christmas in Egypt. So we got a flight that went and had a stopover in Jordan.
Nice.
And then we flew to Thailand.
From Jordan, you went to Thailand?
Yeah. So the flight that I booked one that had I think something like 36-hour or something stopover in Jordan. Just so that, and that was pretty close to Christmas. I said to kids, like, you know, we can't go to Jerusalem, but you're near.
You're close.
You're near to where Jesus was born.
Yeah.
So, and that was probably, we were probably there a couple of days before Christmas. Then we actually arrived Christmas Eve in Thailand. So we spent, I think we probably spent a week or 2 weeks in Thailand. Then we went Bali. So my Australian friends, they came to Bali to meet us because I've got some friends that live in Perth. I didn't really want to go to Perth to see them because Perth's a bit boring. So it was good. They came to Bali to meet us.
Nice.
Then we flew to Australia, Cairns. So Cairns is is a great place to go for the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, yes.
So Australia, we flew in at Cairns, and my original thing was to do Australia down to Sydney, then fly to Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Japan made it really difficult because by flying away from Thailand to Bali, do you see what I mean? It was hard to fit Japan in because Japan's near Thailand.
Yeah.
Japan's a great place to jump over to America, but I'm not ready to jump to America until I do Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So it makes it a bit, and that's why Japan, I kind of took that off and said we'll do Japan afterwards in the end. So we did Australia, so did Great Barrier Reef, which was fantastic. Some great stories. So basically, some guy told me Cairns is the most dangerous place in the world. And I was like,
Really?
why? Well, we were standing next to the water looking out saying, do you think there's crocodiles in it? This was in the evening, yeah. And he said they were fishing, yeah. And he said, you're in the most dangerous place in the world. He goes, it's got the most dangerous spiders, the most dangerous snakes. It's got crocodiles, and it's got the most dangerous jellyfish. And funny enough, jellyfish is the most dangerous thing that kills most people. And we were just like, oh God, you know, didn't even realise, you know, like we're coming just to tourist it at the Great Barrier Reef.
Uh-huh.
So we then, so I remember being in the car in the evening, and I was too tired to drive. This is after we did a lot of the scuba diving. So, and we were in the car, and I was like, I'm not ready to drive yet. So let's have a nap. Yeah. So we got blankets and everything. So we just put our blankets on. We're just napping in the car. I said, I just need a few hours before I drive. And I left the window cracked, isn't it? And I know, looking back on it, because what actually happened was a lizard got in our car.
Uh-huh.
So we just woke up, and right at the front of the dashboard, there was a lizard. Yeah. And we were like, shit, oh my God, how are we going to get it out? Like, it was only like a gecko, so we were all right. But looking back, I was really stupid. Because what it was raining really heavy, and that was it. I didn't want to do the drive while it was raining.
Yep.
So we just said, let's just get a few hours kip. And we were all tired. I think we'd been scuba diving that day. But there was no point booking. Our hotel was booked in the next town. So I was just like, let's just chill. And this lizard got in our car. And obviously I don't know how to get a lizard out of the car. But looking back, yeah, I was really stupid. While it's raining, to leave my window open, I could have got a really poisonous spider in the bloody car.
Even a snake could have squeezed itself in.
Yeah. When they're trying to get out of the rain, they're going to go anywhere, right? So I did actually think afterwards, oh my God, how stupid. But I thought, you know what? The lizard would eat the spider. I know an old lady that swallowed a fly, that story. I was like, we're lucky. God's looking after us.
Yes.
He sent the lizard to warn us.
Yes. Don't leave the window open. Correct.
So,
so you was at the Great Barrier Reef, had that experience. So from Australia, where did you go after that?
So Australia, we did the Great Barrier Reef, which actually, right, I'll just explain.
Mm-hmm.
The boats are huge. So I do a lot of diving with small boats. These boats take about 100 to 150 people. They're big cruise boats. You book them, again, using Viator, you know, those excursion companies.
Yep.
You get really good price by booking through them than if you went direct. Because I went direct to a couple of the scuba places and the prices were like higher. So I did it through that. With that, you book the children as well. Find one that books children. Now, what the great thing is I can dive for 20 minutes and the kids have all got life jackets on. Because they're big, Australia is very professional when it comes to diving. I knew that the kids were safe, if that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got life jackets on. There's 100 people in the water. Chances are a shark ain't going to eat me. Yeah, he's going to eat one of the 100. There's sharks. I used to say I'm never diving in shark water where there's like bull sharks and that without a knife.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
but when I saw these cruise ships and spoke to the divers and stuff and saw how professional they were, I kind of got the confidence that they do this all the time. They go out every day. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you can, if you go to Australia, book your dive trip with these big excursions. We went on a boat called Evolution. when you go there in the morning, there's 15 or 20 boats all going out with 100, 200 people on them, you know. So you get your confidence. Went out. I snorkeled with my kids around the reef.
Wow.
Sharks aren't going to be on the reef generally, because even you're snorkeling and your feet will be touching the reef and stuff when it's shallow. And yeah, I mean, I look back at some of the photos, I think the kids were good, 10 meters, 20 meters away from me. They were safe because they had life jackets on, and they do know how to swim.
Good.
But if one of them had got attacked by a shark, I just gave it to God, I swear. That's what I generally do. Good. Do you know what I mean? And we were safe, but it meant that the kids and the lifeguards could then they were quite happy to look after my kids and take them out with a ring and pull them across the reef for us.
Okay.
So if you can't swim, they put all the stuff on you, and then a lifeguard literally swims you out to the reef, and you just put your snorkel down and just see it all. It was kind of nice because I could be down there with my scuba diving kit on and see my kids all being dragged across the reef by a lifeguard.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's you basically book your scuba dive along with it. So there's more snorkelers than there are divers, and you do a 20-minute, and then the more dives you book, the cheaper it gets. So I think I did about 3 dives on the first boat. We had a day in between, and then on the other boat I did some other dive. I don't know, 3 or 4 dives. But yeah, so it's great for scuba divers. That's all I would say. If anyone scuba dives, go enjoy. Then we drove down to Brisbane. Best place I went to America is Whitsundays. So you catch a boat out to Whitehaven Beach, where the sand is 98% quartz, so it's white.
Where was that?
That's Whitsundays. So it's not far it's en route from Cairns to Brisbane.
Okay.
I saw photos of it about a year ago, and I was like, wow, I want to go there. And I put it on my Google map. And that's why it's really good if you just form a Google map, and anytime you see somewhere you'd like to go, just drop the little pins on it.
Okay.
And then when you actually go there, it's easy for you to just be like, oh, we're only 2 hours drive from Whitsundays. Let's go Whitsundays, So, but it's a conservation area.
Okay.
And yeah, it's one of the most beautiful beaches I've been to. The water is the most transparent I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Anyone who goes to Australia, like Eastern Australia, has to do Whitsundays. Drove down to Sydney. By the time we got to Sydney, we were so Australia'd out that we actually went to the Opera House, and we were just like, oh, look, few photos, few selfies. Sydney's all right, but yeah, you know what I mean? I would say there's other places in Australia that's nicer. We was going to go to Bondi Beach, but I was a bit wary of the sharks.
Okay.
So Australia has, they have nets out at the sea, at swimming areas. So as we were driving down the coast, we could stop off, and you could stop off at these beach locations, and they would always have big nets out that you can swim in, netted areas. Oh. It's not really for the sharks. It does stop the sharks, and you don't really get to crocodiles in the seawater as such. They're more in the estuaries, but it's more for the jellyfish.
Okay, yeah.
Otherwise, you just wouldn't swim East Coast Australia.
That's how prevalent jellyfish are.
Yeah, it's the jellyfish that are the worst. And then obviously I've got a phobia about sharks. So because that from Bonsai Beach downwards, you're going to get great whites. Oh. So, and I just have a thing about. I used to have dreams when I was a kid that great whites was going to kill me. So I used to dream up all different ways that I could fight a great white shark. If it ever happened. So I don't like to ever put myself in a position where it could
Have you ever encountered a shark?
Only reef sharks and nurse sharks. Nurse sharks, you can touch them, and reef sharks, I've seen a reef shark while I'm diving before. But no, it wasn't that big. Oh, in Maldives they have baby sharks in the water. They swim around you, so they're only 12 centimeters or so. When they get born, they stay within the reef in the Maldives, and you can swim. And generally the big sharks won't come past the reefs because it's obviously too dangerous. You can get trapped and stuff, so they stay outside the reef. But the baby sharks were all there. We used to be swimming in the water and watch the baby sharks darting. I don't mind baby sharks. I've got a thing about great white sharks. That's it.
Specifically.
So yeah, from Bonsai Beach downwards in South Australia, that's where all the great whites are. So I didn't go there. So yeah, so after Australia, I then was trying to work out the cheapest route across to America. So I think that's when I was talking to you, and you were saying about you're going to Brazil.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I wanted to go Rio Carnival, and I looked at the price, and I was like, right, there's 700 quid for me. That's all right. Times that by my kids. I ain't got no $2,000. You know what I mean? I was like, this is a bit when sometimes it hurt having my kids with me, because obviously it wasn't like, I think as a solo traveler, you can just say, yeah.
Yeah, you can just say yay or nay or yay or nay. You just at your whim.
One flight ticket, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's a case of you can just take that, you know, and maybe because it's the last seat on the plane, you're going to get a really good price as well.
Of course.
Because sometimes on Flight Scanner, if you look up a flight, I always look it up for one person first, and then you'll see if it's the last 1 or 2 seats, because then when you change it up to 3 or 4 people, you suddenly get a different price. Do you see what I mean? That's more than 4 times what a single person is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then that's when I decided that I was going to go. I was trying to work out the cheapest way across, whether we jumped to New Zealand, but I had to go to San Francisco because I was meeting people. So we went Hawaii.
Nice.
Hawaii with Jetstar, because I'm a Jetstar member, works out the cheapest, and also I could pay for it in 2 steps. Do you see what I mean? So I wasn't just paying for one flight. I was paying Sydney to Hawaii, and then Hawaii to San Francisco. And the flights from Hawaii to San Francisco, being an American route, you've got a lot more choice. Get a better cost. So the best way to get across is always fly to Hawaii, and then you've got more options to do your last jump.
Okay.
Whether you're going LA or San Francisco or whatever. So yeah, we did Hawaii. Everyone was excited about me going to Hawaii except me.
Okay, and why was that then, Tam?
Cost. It's bloody expensive. It's really expensive.
Is it worth the expense?
After you've been to Thailand and Bali, where it's really cheap, £100 for a hotel a night. I don't care how nice that hotel thinks it is. It's like, nah, I didn't really want to pay it. I had a few issues with one of my tenants paying their rent late, which meant I had to stay there a little bit longer while I waited for their rent in. That's probably what pissed me off more. I had to actually borrow some money off of someone at that point when I was in Hawaii. Okay. Which annoyed me, because basically I rent properties. So if my tenants pay late, then it can mess things up if I lose that money. Okay. Huh? I said that's a snowball effect for you when you're kind of doing what you're doing. Yeah, if everyone pays their rent on time, I'm good. Do you know what I mean? When you got one who's like, oh, I can't pay you for another 2 weeks. That's not cool. So while you're traveling, 2 weeks is a lot of money. And that's a lot of time. Hawaii at £100 a night, because there's certain places I can't stay with the kids, so I can't Airbnb and stuff like that. Hawaii's gorgeous, so I think we've just done so many nice beaches in Thailand and Bali and Australia that I didn't think Waikiki Beach was all that. Okay. The sea's gorgeous aqua, but it's not I wouldn't say it's beautiful sea. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's not my kind of beautiful. Like, all my friends were just like, when I was in Hawaii, I think that's a lovely trip for everybody. The best bit about flying to Hawaii, I need it. The best bit about flying to Hawaii was you do the backwards in time. Okay. So you go 21 hours backwards. Time-wise? Yes, when I'm in Australia, I'm 10 hours or whatever ahead of everybody in England.
Uh-huh.
By the time I get to San Francisco, I'm 10 hours behind.
Wow.
Yeah, so I really wanted to cross, as part of a world tour, I wanted to cross that time zone.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah, I mean, for people that believe in flat earth and stuff, it's kind of interesting how the world does stuff. But we basically landed before we took off. So we went back in time. Because I didn't realize some of my friends were going, "Oh, you're on a world tour, so you're gonna go backwards in time then." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they were like, "Well, when you come across the Pacific, you're gonna go backwards in time." And I was
Never
like,
even thought
"Oh
about
yeah."
that. That is amazing.
It's fantastic. It totally messed up my Facebook. Like Facebook didn't know what planet I was on. It's so funny because yeah, like obviously I thought, yeah, let me do it and test it, and I'll put a post out before I fly,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll put a post out
When you
when I
land.
land, and the post when I land should actually be behind, on Facebook. Yeah, it was a bit funny, but yeah. So Hawaii, great. I did kind of like go over the hill, kind of in Hawaii, and do the see the other side of Hawaii, because Hawaii's got some gangs and stuff. We went to a
Hawaii's
club.
got gangs.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll talk about that. That's really piqued my interest because obviously when people think Hawaii, they think honeymoon and
yeah,
halua and grass skirts and big drinks with flowers in and pretty beaches. Talk to
yeah.
me.
So most places I go, so I haven't gone into the detail, but obviously when I went to America and Cairns, we went to a shopping mall, and if you just seen the amount of Aborigine people in the shopping mall, I mean, it was amazing. Because we're near Northern Australia, so
Okay.
every place we go, I always make sure to take the kids to the local area,
Hmm.
you know, and then they get to see them. I was sitting explaining to the kids about the Aborigine people, and I was saying, I mean, it's amazing to see Aborigine. We were talking to some of them anyway, and it was just like, amazing. So many of them as well,
Hmm.
and mixed ones and stuff. It was just like, when you've only seen Aborigine people on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, to actually see them, they're just normal.
Hmm.
Of course they're normal, we know that, but do you understand what I mean? Like the way they're portrayed on TV. Like, how often do you watch stuff and they just show Aborigine people?
And if
It's
they do,
always,
it's never positive.
yeah, they always focus it on some kind of documentary about them, rather than they're Australian, they live here, and you go down the mall and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, and it was lovely. So every place we go, so even when we were in Hawaii, we went like, you know not just a touristy area, and we went clubbing to one place, and it's quite safe, ish, I would say. I think we went out. Oh, that's it. My kids like, is it Walmart?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my kids wanted to go Walmart because it's American. You got the whole Walmart, and they were like, "Oh, we want to go to Walmart." I said, "All right, I'll take you Walmart." Took the kids there, and that's when we noticed there was some clubs and stuff. So we went back to clubs later. They were pulling up in proper rides, when they're all like jumping. They got lights under their
Oh,
rides,
wow.
big jeeps, big Navigator jeeps and stuff. Yeah, the club was proper shady. We fitted in great. We just blend. So we were just like, oh, we didn't know Hawaii had this kind of, nightlife. So, but the kids didn't see that side of it, but we got to go see. And then, but I think wherever you go, you should always try to go out to where the locals go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you'll see both sides of the country.
Uh-huh.
Then Hawaii, we went to San Francisco. Oh, in Hawaii, I got to watch the Super Bowl, so that was fantastic. Watching Super Bowl with Americans is the greatest thing because they actually know what they're talking about.
I know nothing about American football. So that would have just been
I know a bit about it, but I don't know it in terms of yards.
okay.
They know it in terms of rushing yards and all of this, and I'm just like, but it was nice to be somewhere nice to watch the Super Bowl and be surrounded by Americans that actually like it. Whereas in England, you don't really get a lot of people like that. So San Francisco, went to Martin Luther King waterfall that I wanted to see.
Okay.
Funny enough, my hotel was literally just in a straight line walking distance to it. So we could visit that most days. San Francisco, I've been there before and it's changed a lot. You've got total extremes of like the equivalent of like Fifth Avenue, and you literally turn one street off of it and you're surrounded by crackheads. It's very, very close. It never used to be like that. They've really got a homelessness problem there.
Mm-hmm.
And where we stayed there, it was, you know, you could walk out your door and literally round the corner and you would be surrounded by crackheads.
Wow.
So I was cool. I could handle it. Most of the time I can handle all that. What I can't handle is if they've got dogs and stuff like that, because I don't really trust dogs. But yeah, it was interesting to see. San Francisco has changed a lot. Even my friends in San Francisco were just like, yeah, it's gone downhill. They need to sort it out. So
people, this is the end of part 1. I told you me and Tammy chatted for ages. So it's a 2-parter. The second part will follow up next week. We'll be talking about the rest of her travels and the other places that she went to. And I'll even have a little bit of a snippet from her kids too. So tune in for the next episode of Kids Go To. I'm in conversation still with my mate, Tammy Lynn Saunders. And you can find her on Instagram at that handle, Tammy Lynn Saunders. Check out part 2 coming next week. As always, be sure to subscribe, share, comment, follow me on the Hot Foot Roams podcast on Instagram at the Hot Foot Roams. No, it's at Hot Foot Roams, actually, and on Twitter as well, at Hot Foot Roams. And you can send an email if you'd like to hotfootroams@gmail.com. And you can send a voice note via the anchor.fm app if you have it. Comment, make a suggestion, give some feedback, tell me about myself, whatever. Do so on all of those mediums, and you can find the anchor. You can find the Hot Foot Roams podcast on all platforms where Sugar. You can find the Hot Foot Roams podcast on all platforms where podcasts are available. So that is Spotify. You can find me there. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and a whole load of other places that where you get podcasts from. Then I'm going to be there, just like I said earlier. I'm there. You just search Hot Foot Roams, boom. Ta-da! Find me. So yeah, hit me up or follow me, and also on the Anchor.fm app. All right. You know it's the end when you hear this quote. Those who roam are not always lost. Keep roaming, people. Take care.